Good afternoon. It's the afternoon of day 2 at SecTor, and I am playing the part of Boolam. I have a voice, so I get to play the part of Boolam. He unfortunately has lost his voice and is behind the camera. He's waving. But what we wanted to do today is SecTor is all about new technologies and some interesting things that are going on. This is your first SecTor, so tell me a couple things that you learned this week that you found interesting.
Sounds good. I will. I learned a lot on SecTor. Some of it technically related, and some of it not. The technical stuff I learned is probably a little bit more at the basic level, but I will share a couple of things. One of the things that stuck out to me was Brian McHenry's talk at SecTor. He did a talk about APIs and like managing them and securing them.
Right.
One of the things that kind of like connected the dots for me was kind of when he talked about API discoverability and like, you need to know where all your API touch points are in order to secure them. And for me, it was like, I kind of like imagined a house and like, yeah, you have your front door and your back door and you think those are all the doors in your house. And so you have locks on them. And then all of a sudden there's this third door or this fourth door.
Right.
And you need to be able to put locks on those doors or else people could just get inside. And so that was kind of one of those like epiphany moments of like, oh, it's like that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, in the API space, just sometimes you uncover a wall and you're like, wait, there is a closet behind here. We had no idea that this was even here, right? And so things change over time and you don't know how they change. So you weren't the first owner of the house or something, and it's the same thing with an API. There's a new version, new something, and this thing is just floating around there, exposing you to something you may not know. So, yeah.
Sounds like an Agatha Christie novel of like there's a door in the closet that leads to like the, I don't know.
API she wrote, maybe?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yes, there we go. Right.
The other thing I learned was that you used to have to download something on your computer to manage your firewalls, which I, like, in my brain, I equated it to, like, when I had to download, like, TIE Fighter from a CD-ROM in order to play. Or, like, some sort of computer game. You download it on your computer, and then you can use it. And I know that's changed a lot in terms of like you could just like run games on your phone or whatever. So it was kind of a nice way to see like the evolution of like managing something on like having to configure it and set it up, and then now it's a lot easier, I imagine. So
well, it is easier, and that actually ties back to APIs. So it's a very interesting tie-in because what we've done with the application stacks is they're all API driven now. Where it used to be a huge stack and all things were sort of tied in, and you had a lot of business logic running on your computer, and you had to have a whole bunch of stuff running on your computer in order to talk to another system and make that happen. Now what happens is there's a bunch of calls that you just call into those systems and they make those things happen. The business logic is now pushed out of the control of the user where they can't change it in their browser, they don't block, they're not an opportunity to misuse your firewall and open something up without it. Those are, again, it's all API driven, but it's seamless. We don't know why necessarily, but these are things that we've now pushed down where we can run this from a browser, and we don't need to download things. We don't want you to download stuff. And on the phone side, we want to just be able to run it so it's nice and light and we don't waste your battery.
Yeah, absolutely. So like less opportunity for like user error and stuff.
Yes.
That makes a lot more sense. And then the third thing I've learned, is that talking about a lot of people and about like their history and the history of like firewalls and stuff like that there used to be a thing called Sun Solaris, and I always get a big reaction whenever people talk about it.
Yes, so Sun was a software company from the 90s, and they had some pretty fantastic horsepower, and they predated a lot of the technologies that we have today, where they were really running a lot of the systems, and they had really high scale, web scale technologies in the turn of the Millennium kind of thing. And so there was something called a Solaris firewall that you would run your web server on it. And the team there, have you ever heard the term of a pizza box computer?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So all the racks in a data center are all built around the size of a pizza box. And there's actually a story around that a friend of mine was at that pizza joint when they decided that they wanted the computers to be that size. And they are all from the Sun engineers, literally having a pizza, and they were trying to figure out how big to make a computer, and they chose this size of a pizza box. So this is the story. And now, what Sun really has advanced it. Now Sun's no longer, but they were definitely a leader in the space. And anybody who's seen like an Apollo box or a Solaris box, it was the beginning of where we are with Linux and Unix today. It was a transitional moment in time. But again, it was a very client-server architecture. You ran things on a big chunk of hardware that you owned, you managed, you had to scale. Now today, we're all doing this in the web. We scale this in the cloud. We share workloads. It's very different the way we do things today. And maybe what else have you learned about Toronto in general?
Well, I learned that everybody knows what a double-double is at Tim Hortons, and I did not. So asking about what is a double-double was definitely a shock to the cashier behind the register.
And for those of you on camera, that's 2 creams, two milks.
Really good. I can recommend it. And then I also learned as a hockey fan that Drake is cursed. And that every time he goes to a Leafs game, a Toronto Maple Leafs game, they lose. So
yes, we do not see him in the stands at all.
Drake is not allowed in the playoffs.
Yes, definitely not. Well, Rebecca, I'm glad you had a good week. It sounds like it was very informative for you, and I'm glad you enjoyed Toronto.
I did.
And go Leafs, go. So. And go Kraken.
Go Kraken. Go Seattle Kraken.
There we go.
Come on.
Thanks, Boo. I hope your voice comes back very soon.
Feel better, Boo.